and welcome to our next show here in Brussels. My name is Luis Palmer. I'm the creator of the SolarButterfly and I'm happy to be back on the tour. I came yesterday from Lucerne in Switzerland by train. I'm going to join the tour for the next 3 days again, and I'm very happy that we have today reached Brussels and we have here Jutta Paulus with us. Great to have you here, Jutta. You are member of the European Parliament.
Yes.
And from the Green Party from Germany.
Right.
And I just want to show you, my dear guests, where we are today. We have started in Switzerland 6 weeks ago. We went all the way through Germany. We went up to Holland, and now we are in Brussels. And not just in Brussels, we are in front of the Parliament building here in Brussels. So it's a very big honor to have Jutta with us. Jutta, my first question to you: we had great goals of the European Parliament, the German Parliament, to stop global warming. And suddenly, Ukraine war broke out. And suddenly, things are changing. I'm a little bit concerned when I'm reading the news. What's going on, really?
Yes, I'm also concerned, of course, not only because of the people in Ukraine that are being shelled, that are being tortured, losing their homes, having to flee, but also because what we're witnessing now is that huge amounts of money suddenly spring from everywhere to buy weapons or to search for fossil fuels in other world regions. Whereas we were being told all the time, well, we cannot do climate action, it's much too expensive. But there is a second angle, and I found this very interesting. When the first meeting of the Industry and Energy Committee in the European Parliament took place after the war broke out, the rapporteur for the Renewable Energy Directive, who is from the Conservative Party and who was always trying to water down everything. So he came to the committee and he said, well, Commission came forward with a target of 40% renewable energy in electricity, heat, buildings, transport, industry until 2030. I think we have to do differently. We have to raise this to 45%. And I was like, okay, what happened? Well, of course, now the Conservatives are seeing that renewable energy makes us independent from autocrats, from fossil fuel regimes, as I might say, because it's very easy to develop a autocratic mafia regime when selling fossil fuels. It's not rocket science. You have to not to be innovative. You don't need great engineers. You don't need a lot of education and a free society. You just need power in order to have your hands on the fossil fuels.
Exactly.
And that is something that people are realizing now. They are realizing, okay, so maybe it wasn't such a bad idea to go for solar and wind. No one can put a tariff on solar or wind when it enters the country. No one can block it from reaching your country. So people are now moving very much more towards renewable energy, but at the same time we are seeing incredible and frightening developments of German green ministers having to travel to Qatar, which is not exactly a paradise of human rights, asking them to sell us their fossil gas.
But why are they doing that? I mean, can't we get the energy just from solar power? Why do we still need the gas?
You cannot transition within one winter, and that's basically the problem. The Qataris say, we can send you some LNG. It would arrive in Germany in time. And of course, we can easily replace, by a massive rollout of solar energy, we could replace gas in electricity production. But 40% of the gas goes to heating buildings. Another 40% goes to industry for process heat. And that is very difficult to switch within such a short time. So I think it was a very difficult and hard decision for our Minister of Economy to do this, but he says, I'm the Minister of Economy. It's also my job to make sure that German economy is still functioning, because else we will not be able to reach any of our climate goals.
But you know what I don't understand is we are paying, or the governments are paying hundreds of billions now for new terminals. They're not going to be here next winter. It will take maybe 5-6 years until those things are built and we will get the new gas. I mean, can't we do other things instead?
We should do more other things, that's true. Right now we're talking about floating LNG terminals, which can be built very much faster, because there's basically a ship offshore, and you just need a pipeline to connect the ship to the shore. So you don't need a full-fledged LNG terminal. But still, it's a very difficult decision, and what we are trying to do all the time, look at the European dimension. We have 3 LNG terminals in North Spain, which are only at 30% capacity running, but we are lacking a pipeline across the Pyrenees. Shouldn't we build that pipeline first? And of course, what is still underestimated, the role of energy efficiency. If we use energy more efficiently, if we really get going with renovating houses, if we really get going with transitioning inefficient processes in industry, but also at smaller businesses, at smaller companies, then we would have a saving potential of up to 30% within several years. So we're already here now. If everyone would just do a hydraulischer Abgleich, I don't know the English expression,
neither,
so you have to optimize your heating, let's call it like that, so that each radiator receives the same amount of heat. Then you could save up to 15% of your heating in your home, and you would save money at the same time. Because a lot of people will be affected by these extremely high gas prices without having an alternative. But you're of course right, we have to ramp up efficiency, we have to tear down the barriers that are actually hindering deployment of solar and wind energy. And we have to give the people the power. On the European level, we have the Clean Energy Package, which was passed last mandate in 2018 and 2019. And in this Clean Energy Package, we have the prosumer rights. Every European citizen has the right to generate, store, consume, and sell his or her own renewable energy. Member states have not transposed this legislation properly. So Commission must make sure now to help member states how to transpose it quickly and give people the opportunity to be part of the transition, to save money and to be able to even earn money by selling their own solar electricity, which they generate on their roof, in their gardens, at their facades, wherever, because solar is the cheapest energy you can generate today, and it's the safest fusion reactor I've ever seen, because it's 150 million kilometers away.
Exactly. Jutta, you're a great member of the parliament here in Brussels. You see behind the curtain and you know what should be done. What do you think? Could the European Parliament do more? Should there more be done? Or what is your personal opinion about this European Parliament? Are we on the right track to reach our goal? Why 1.5 degrees hotter than before? Are we going to reach it, or are we going to fail? You see the story behind. What's your personal opinion?
My personal opinion is the Parliament's position is not on track with 1.5 degrees, which is due to the fact that the European climate law, which says net 55% reduction until 2030 compared to 1990, is also not on track with 1.5. So we as Greens have always said we cannot vote for this climate law because it is insufficient. But we will make sure that we play a supportive role, a pushing role when it comes to the follow-up legislation, because the climate law itself doesn't cut any emissions. What we're negotiating now, the ETS has been passed by Parliament. ETS is the emission trading system, which is for the energy sector and the industry sector. We have the Energy Efficiency Directive, which we're negotiating now. We have the Renewable Energy Directive, which we're negotiating now. And those targets and those directives are translating the climate law into action. And there we are pushing for higher targets, higher than what was envisaged in the climate law, in order to become better than the net 55%. But we will not be able to do it without nature. And that is something that hasn't entered most people's mind yet. Technology alone will not save us. So the IPCC has brought forward the statement saying we will not be able to reach even the 2 degrees goal if we do not restore 30% of our ecosystems. And that is something that has grown worse by the war, because everyone is talking about Ukraine, grain exports being blocked by the Russians not exporting their grain to the global south. We will face probably a hunger crisis in Egypt, in Somalia, in a lot of countries in Africa, even in India. And now the agricultural lobby came forward and say, why? You just said that we need fallow land in order for biodiversity to have a retreat. Let's plow this fallow land and let's sow grain in order to feed the world. Never mentioning that 60% of the grain we grow in Europe ends up in the stomach of pigs, of poultry, of cattle.
Yeah.
Never talking about 20% ending up as biofuel.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
It's really a lot.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we use the grain predominantly to feed people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you look at the area that's reserved for the growth of biofuels, and you would cover this area with solar, you would harvest 40 times more energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we could even free up part of the land for biodiversity and still have more than before.
Yeah, yeah, I see. Jutta, it's great talking to you. I see you have great insights, but more or less, if I may be honest with you, when I listen to you, it's not really a bright, shiny future that you're drawing here. Yeah, we have problems in the parliament.
We have problems.
We are not on track with the 1.5 degrees goal, and with other things, there's a lot to be done, and lots of things are not going right in politics.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And
you mean what we can do?
Maybe.
I think what's really important is make your voice heard. We have a lobby register in the European Parliament. So every lobbyist entering the Parliament has to have his name in the register. So everyone can look at it, it's public, right? So you can see which companies are lobbying MEPs. How many people do they have in Brussels? How much money do they spend in Brussels? And you will see that there's a huge majority coming from industry, business associations. Even Russian gas industry was lobbying very strongly here in the parliament for their interests. And only a very tiny share of NGOs, civil society activists. But I think what politicians tend to listen to is their voters. So if voters stand up and say, hey, I heard that your political group is trying to water down the agreements, is trying to make exemptions. For example, I'm negotiating on the maritime fuels, and they want exemptions for ice-class ships, because ice-class ships need more energy, naturally, because they have to break ice, clear. So they say, well, they shouldn't be included in this scheme, because without those ice-class ships, our Finnish people will starve. And I mean, Finland is not the poorest country in the European Union. And if you break it down, if you break down numbers, if we are ramping up renewable fuels, this will increase the price of, for example, a banana that is shipped around half the world by 0.2 cents. So it's largely insignificant.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we have to decarbonize also those hard to decarbonize sectors. But the lobby is really strong. So the only counterpart that we have, that are fighting for a future our kids and grandkids can live in, is civil society. Stand up, write to your politicians, call them, go to their offices in their home country, ask them, what are you actually doing on climate? Can you show me that your position is in line with the 1.5 degrees goal? Because they cannot.
Exactly. That gives us hope. Civil society and everybody has the choice. Be part of the problem and just stay away and not do anything, or really get involved. And simple people alone can make big changes, right?
And simple. There's this great saying from Wilhelm Raiffeisen, who was the founder of the German cooperative movement, and he said, "What one man alone cannot do, a lot of them can do together." And that was also the goal of the energy cooperatives, where we have a lot of in Germany. So there were a lot of people saying, I don't have a lot of money, but I can chip in 500 euros. And if 1,000 people chip in 500 euros, you have quite a sum. You can build a solar park, or you can take up a loan for a windmill. And this is something which everyone can do. Look out for a cooperative. Maybe there's one in your country, maybe there's one in another country, which would still take you chip together your money and build renewables. Commission has made a great proposal for de-bureaucratizing the procedures, because in some countries it takes like 3 years to build a solar park, which is totally ineffective. And Commission said, make sure that you design go-to areas where there's not a big problem with biodiversity and all this, and then the procedure may take at the most 1 year. Because we need lightning speed. We need lightning speed to get off Russian fossil fuels and to get onto the right path for the climate protection.
Yes, that's very kind words, great, the right words for finishing our interview. Thank you very much, Jutta. I could listen to you for hours and we could continue our discussion for a long time. I'm sure it was great having you here. We need you in the Parliament. Thank you very much for your work, and great having you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Louis, and continue your work. I think it's just a brilliant example of what one man alone can do, and of what you inspire in other people. I think that's the main value that you create. You create inspiration and you create hope, and you show we can move if we want to.
Yes, thank you very much for your kind words. Thanks, Jutta, and all the best.
Thank you, Louis.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this interview. I hope you liked it, and like us on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube and on Twitter. And that was it for today from Brussels, and see you again. We'll be soon back from Paris.